Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live studio. Subscribe or follow today.
All right, welcome back to the second half of Oilers Live, where we do my favorite segment, the Rip the Ref segment, and the only guy outside of myself that has his own intro. So my guests have to wait a second while we do the Rip the Ref intro. Mr. Brett Jansky gets his own intro. And now, Rip the Ref with Brett Jansky. All right, so we're on. I mean, that's normally we don't do this split midway, so we don't have to do two intros. But Brett, it's in his contract, and he's kind of a diva that way, and he's a bit of a media guy. So we pull out all the stops. Of course, we've got Mr. Dustin Neilson with us today, fresh off of a Game 7 overtime thriller. In fake Rogers Place. Great call today, by the way. And thanks for joining.
Hey. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Huge game, big win. After dropping games 5 and 6, they needed that one. And Tyler Ennis is having like playoffs, like an all-timer. He's got 10 points in 7 games. He's got 6 goals. He scored both goals in Game 7. So, if my voice is a little hoarse, it's because I was screaming at the top of my lungs for about an hour and a half tonight. But happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I told you before we started tonight that it's my first time tuning in. And I'm going to tell anybody that's listening tonight or listens on the recording, definitely you got to tune in. It's a lot of fun. And I had a hard time getting into this whole video game thing, but hey, when you got no other hockey to watch, I mean, this is where it's at, right?
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, not unlike you. I mean, we've been hovering around like 950 as a max for live viewers, and then tonight we bumped it up to like 1,400. I think somewhere in that ballpark. So we've had like anywhere from 10 to 14,000 like total viewing per game, which is pretty good. I mean, we're gonna close in on close to 100,000 for the first round, which is insane. But like, it's to me, and hopefully this is coming across the way we do it. I mean, yeah, you're coming to watch hockey, but, I'm trying to entertain you in other aspects of it, which makes it not like you're just watching another broadcast, which probably makes you feel more normal watching this. So you can have a chuckle here or there as opposed to just watching a regular simulation with the regular play-by-play and the regular gimmicks that they have on NHL 20. So, United came to me with the idea, and it's been pretty fun so far.
Yeah. Got a question for you, Dusty. Our simulation Rogers Place prices going to go up here?
You know what? I have a feeling there's going to be some ticket gouging. I don't know why there wouldn't. I mean, it's tough times. If I was them, I'd just leave the prices the same. But actually, you know what? That's kind of the funniest thing. The comment section is absolutely insane in these things. Like, it's awesome. People are like, oh man, I just paid $15 for a virtual beer. Like, people are absolutely loving it. So the comment section alone is worth checking out. You could black out the game and just watch the comment section, and you'd probably be pretty happy with it. So you're right. Prices are definitely going up. I think the 50-50 didn't get claimed tonight, so it's going to be over $1 million for Game 1 against the Canucks.
Awesome. So, I'll tell you, we normally do this Monday nights at 9:30. We do a little segment called Rip the Ref. Oh, we've got a special guest in the background there. Oh. Right on. Right
Hit
on.
him.
No, yeah, I know. I was about the most excited I've been this whole time here. I thought, geez, I'm ready. Yeah. So Brett, he tries to get us to see the side of the official. I'm really I have a hard time. I kind of gag a little bit every time we get onto this segment because, we got stripes and he's trying to tell me if it's a hook or it's a slash. Anyway, so he asked us some really hard-hitting reffing questions, and I'm shooting at about 100%, and I think Dursa's at about 5%. What's your knowledge of the rule book?
I mean, for the most part, I hate it. I yell about it. I don't know it. Jansky's basically the reason I don't play Rec League anymore. At least took this season part of it. I only played a couple games this year, but hopefully I'll be back playing again next year if time will allow it, if we have Rec League or whatever. So I mean, I know the rule book pretty good. For the simulation, I mean, those refs are absolute garbage. Check from behind on
Five
Darnell
in a
Nurse
game.
tonight was blatant. Should have been 5 in a game. Bear has to come in and fight, and then they don't even announce what the extra 2 was for Monahan. They just all of a sudden there was a power play for the Oilers. So simulation referees are just as brutal as real life ones. So I mean, I could take a crack at a couple of them, but I'm sure there are still a few areas that I would miss on for sure.
All right, so
But
we call
that
this.
NHL game is very realistic. Then.
yeah.
It's very realistic. Exactly. Oilers only had 1 power play tonight.
Like, was there anything called on that at all?
It was, well, what happened was
The fight, but
there was a fight, but Monahan hit Nurse. Bear came in, they dropped the gloves, they fight. And when they put up like the picture of the guys in the box, they just gave them both 5 minutes for fighting. And then when they went to drop the puck, it was a 5-on-4. So like many times with the real referee, they don't even announce the proper call. And I had no idea what was going on. All I knew is that there was a power play coming out of it.
Awesome.
And I did verbally abuse the officials, just like I have multiple times. And I
that's good for
apologize to you
entertainment.
on behalf of, myself. You can pass it along to the rest of the officials.
that's
to
good for
everybody.
entertainment.
It's all right. It's
Yeah,
all right
exactly.
on here.
100%.
It's allowed. It's even encouraged on here, as a matter of fact. It's even encouraged. All right, so Brett, you got this is your chance here. This is what we call SRD, which stands for. Oh, I get this wrong every time. What is it? What's it stand for?
State
The ref decision. Okay.
referee decision.
So
All right.
Brett gives us some type of bogus situation, which usually somehow includes me getting deked around by Mike or something, which would just never happen. And yeah, so that's how it ends up. So all right, Brett, you're on. SRD.
Okay. Well, it's funny because I had this whole thing written up about checking from behind before I even seen or watched what happened in the game. So it actually just works out perfectly. So I actually did watch that clip of that check from behind. And I can't believe you didn't get nothing for that. So I got Rule 6.4b, checking from behind. So my first question to you is, can a checking from behind be called anywhere on the ice? Open ice, in front of the net, obviously along the boards, but anywhere. Yes or no?
Oh man. I'm gonna say no.
Is anybody else guessing?
Durso, what's your thought? Yeah, we're all in this
Okay.
together. Durso, what's your thought on this one?
Just because I've only seen it along the boards, I'm thinking Dusty is probably on the right track, but knowing you, Brett, it's going to be a little bit of a trick question, so I'm going to say, yeah, it can be called anywhere.
Yeah, I good call on that. I think that's probably what it is, because ref never tells you exactly the way it is. So I'll go with anywhere on the ice.
So yes, it can. You don't see it very often in open ice situations, but it can be called checking from behind. And do you know, or can you tell me, what's the determining factor between if we're going to call it a check from behind or if we're going to call it cross-checking or charging or anything else? Well, I guess it could be charging. What's the difference? Why do we go CFB instead of cross-checking in open ice?
Oh,
First of all, I mean, the fact that it never gets called just goes to show that refs don't do their job properly. So if I can just throw that out there, I've never seen a check from behind in the middle of the ice ever. Jansky, have you ever even given one of those? Like, have you ever called a check from behind?
In open ice?
In open ice. Ever.
Well, at all, yes. I have. I can't think of one.
No, it's so weird. So why is it a check from behind as opposed to like a cross check in the middle of the ice?
Yeah, or in front of the net or anything.
Cross check, you kind of have to have your stick up, right?
I would think maybe the contact is up closer to like the higher shoulder part. Maybe like I don't know. That's weird to me.
If I had to guess, it's based on the player. Like if it's Cassian,
Exactly.
Cassian, then it's like checking from behind and it's a major. But if it's like Goudreau, then they probably don't call anything at all, right? Am I accurate on that? Is that how you call it in men's league? That's probably
in men's league it's a whole different standard.
Oh, yeah.
This is for Hockey Canada / men's league, Dusty, not NHL rules, because I don't know, those ones are different sometimes. So what it says in there is the difference between the cross check or CFB in open ice is if the player delivering the check is in motion. So if you're skating, there's someone standing in front of the net, Dusty, you come to move them out of there and you're like skating and you land a really good cross check from behind. It could be called checking from behind.
It could just straight up be called a check from behind instead of a cross check.
It could.
If you were standing.
If you were standing still and give them one, then it's cross checking.
So you have to be in motion.
That's the difference, it says.
Keep in mind that refs wrote the rule book, right? So
do you say refs wrote it or refs ruin it?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yeah. It took a ref to write it and a ref to ruin it. Oh man.
Now, that being said, if it's cross-checking or any kind of checking from behind into the boards or the net, then it is a checking from behind. Doesn't matter if you're moving.
Oh, so it doesn't matter if it's going to be a cross-check in the boards, it's still check from behind.
Yeah, and this is like hard to think about. Like you see guys standing still all the time and cross-checking guys in the back in the boards.
Of course you do.
And it's not called checking from behind. So it doesn't really read well to me either. Like I agree with you that it doesn't get called like it's reading here.
Wait a second, repeat.
Because like otherwise you should have like a lot of checking from behinds, like in all kinds of hockey. So do you know the options for like beer league or rec league or minor hockey for what the calls are for checking from behind? There's 3.
Oh man,
like, what can you get?
2 and a 10, I would think. I know I've got a few of those.
Yeah.
There would be 5, just straight up 5, and then probably 5 in a game. Am I close?
Yeah,
you're close, but you're not on the terminology a little bit there.
See, you'd never cut it. You would never cut it as a ref. You better stick to broadcasting. I know
I will. Don't worry.
I know you had your dream was set on being a NHL ref, but this is okay. Let us know.
Nobody dreams of that.
Yeah.
That's always a fallback.
What was it? the old official fallback. Yeah. All right. What are they?
So in this rule book, there's a minor 2 minutes and a game misconduct, a 5 minute and a game misconduct, or a match penalty.
Oh, match. Okay, so no 2 and 10 in that rule book.
Not in this one. That might be in, but that you could see that in like World Juniors maybe, or
I know
Pacific
in,
Junior Leagues,
like in Golden Bears in CIS.
CIS. Yeah.
For some reason, I'm thinking CIS. I've seen like a few 2 and 10s or something like that.
100% could be in that too.
Yeah.
Because to me too, like 2 in a game is actually seems kind of harsh to me. Because if you're only going with the 2, it was like kind of like a little one, right? Like
2 in a game doesn't make any sense. I mean, what type of rule book are we reading from? This is ridiculous.
The one that we play by every
that's what I mean. Change that rule.
Yeah.
Brett, is that minor hockey?
Yeah.
The two in a game?
Yeah.
Honestly,
because they don't want to see it at all.
Every ref has their own personal rule book anyway. So, while we've got you here, Dustin, we've never had anybody on the show that has actually played a game where this guy has officiated. And so when you get on the ice and you see Jansky there wearing the stripes, I mean, what's the first thought that goes through your head? I mean, do you spit on the ice a little bit? Like what? Like what happens?
I try to smooth things over with most of the refs, and I know quite a few of the refs around the league now. Just they'll come up before the show, the game or whatever, and be like, "Hey, listen to the show," and I'm like, "Cool, thanks. Go easy on me." And it's not usually the case. So I'll say, "Hey, what's up?" to Jansky. And we might have a little bit of small talk there, but I don't think I've ever gotten any preferential treatment in any way, shape, or form. But that being said, I might get the extra warning every once in a while when I can be a loose cannon at times. So I might get an extra little warning here, being like, "Hey, Dusty, get it together." But I don't think you've ever ejected me from a game, and I've never told you that you're the worst official ever, and I've said that to a number of guys. No. So, no, I think I try to be well behaved. I mean, I don't want to put him in a tough spot to kick me out, so I try to behave for the most part.
I'm just reminding or thinking back to a game at Glengarry a year ago, maybe. You were in it with the goalie on the other team, and you were in there, and he was saying stuff to you, and then you scored on him. And I don't know what you said to him. You leaned in and said something to him, and he was not happy with you. And I don't know if it was right after that or was it a later play that he...
Was that when he came out?
He chased you to like the top of the circles. And you're about, I don't know, 2-3 feet taller than him, maybe?
Yeah, he was. I remember what you're talking about. He's a good goalie, but he was fired up. We played him a couple of times that year. Yeah, he came right out. He came right out to like almost the blue line. Yeah. It was crazy.
Dusty, I got another question for you.
I don't think we gave either of you anything there either.
No, you didn't. We got lucky there.
Dusty, what's your best ref chirp you got? See, mine is like I've seen better officiating in Foot Locker for Brett, but
oh geez, I don't think I can. Most of mine are very vulgar. I don't even know if even here I don't really want to say it. Like I got it was a league final. I mean, not a great league final. I did 5 or 6 a couple of years ago, and it's game 1 of the finals, and I got ejected. Missed game 2 due to being ejected in game 1. Came back for game 3, and we were trailing like late in game 3. Had one of my ball hockey buddies tied up behind the net, and he went down, and the ref's like, "You're doing it again." I said, "This is my buddy. Like, he's just happened to be a lot smaller than I am." So he kicked me out. As I was skating to the box, I'm giving the official an earful. I get to the box. He puts me in there. He comes back over to say something and I open up the door and I reach out. And I don't know why. I always feel like right away, I'm like, what? How could you possibly toss me out for that? And I always drop the line. "You are the worst bleeping official I've ever seen in my life." And for some reason, it really stings him. And I think the reason is because it hits home. He knows it. And then he ejected me for verbal abuse of an official, and we ended up losing 5-3 on an empty netter anyway. So that was a really old guy. Like, I think there should be some sort of level where if you're 75, you can't ref anymore. It's that simple.
If you got to bring your cane to get to the ring.
Yeah. All right. So, Dusty, we've got you. I booked you for 5. If you want to stay on, you're more than welcome. We shut her down at 10:30 most nights. But I want to ask you, because you're doing your own pod, right? And yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing? And of course, I love listening to the Play-by-Play, but you're doing a few other things, not to mention, of course, your show on 1260. But yeah, tell us about
that. We started a podcast back in September called Two Guys and a Goalie with myself and former, briefly, Oilers goaltender Joaquin Gage, who's an absolute beauty, and then Matt Cassian, who played for the Wild and the Senators. And I got to know those guys a little bit, and they listen to my show all the time, so they kind of get me. So I was approached by Oilers Nation and those guys. They wanted to start a podcast, and I said, okay, let's get Gager and we'll get Cass, and we grabbed Hernan from a radio station to kind of be the producer. And it's going pretty good. We live stream it just like this as well, and then we put out the podcast, and the numbers on the podcast are still pretty good. We've streams are doing pretty good as well. During these, the tough times, we decided to kind of keep it going just on our own from basically, the quarantined setup where all 4 of us are at our homes. And it's not ideal. It's not great because usually when we're doing it, we're together and it makes things a little bit easier, obviously, from a visual perspective. And even just being there and interacting with each other is really good. But I think we're pretty happy with where it's gone. I mean, we're at 51 episodes right now. We would definitely be a little bit higher if we still had hockey to talk about. But we're connected on Sundays. And it's kind of a combination of, hockey talk and then kind of like my show where we joke around a little bit, kind of mix it all together. And we've had some good guys come in. We had Shamara come in. We had Chris Dingman come in. Mac T came in for an episode as well. Boy, I'm sure I'm missing a couple guys. And it's been good. When those guys come in, we kind of just BS and talk stories for usually an hour or so. And they've all been really good about it. So once we can get back to doing that again and getting out there, that's definitely something we'll do. We'll get all those guys to come in and join us. And right now what we're doing, just because of situation we're all facing, we've brought like local businesses on the last couple of episodes just to kind of give them a plug get him a little bit of business. I mean, maybe get him a little, if not, just kind of create some awareness for him. And that's been good conversations as well. We had Mo from First Round on, which led to a huge debate about peanut butter on burgers and stuff. And so it kind of goes wherever. But the boys and I have a lot of fun with it, and that's the most important thing. I mean, that's probably why you guys do this. And it's just guys that you like, you're having fun. I've got a decent enough platform where I can push it out, and we can get some numbers on it, and hopefully it's like the start of something really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to a couple of episodes, and you guys do a great job. It's a lot of fun listening to. Of course, Joaquin's amazing, right? Like he's
he's next level. Like that guy, he texted me tonight after the simulation game. He goes, "Is this real life?" I was like, "I know." And then he's like, "I'll come on tomorrow and break it down with you." I was like, "Of course you will." Like, why wouldn't we break this game down? It's the game 7. So he's such a good dude, and he played. So we had Craig McTavish on, and Mac T coached Gager. And Gager had like one full season where he's around the Oilers the whole time. The other couple of years when he was there, he was up and down in the American League and stuff. And Mac T pointed out, he goes, "Yeah, I was looking up some stuff about Gager before he came in, and I thought it was really impressive how you played in 11 different leagues, like not teams, but leagues, which is hilarious." So that was a good chirp by Mac T. But Gager's a good sport about it. And Cass is really funny because this is a dude who made a living in the National Hockey League beating the hell out of people. And he's the softest giant you've ever met in your entire life. Like, he doesn't say a bad word. He doesn't really drink. He's very religious. You would never think that that's what you're getting from a guy who's a tough guy in the National Hockey League, but he's a softie, and I love having him on the podcast too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight. It's great to have you. I've always, the guys that you work with, the colleagues, you're both at Oilers Nation and 1260. I mean, it's obviously a culture of good folks because, reach out and of course you're a game and very supportive of it. And I think right now, the reason we started live streaming like a couple times a week, like I used to do recorded once a week or whatever and live stream once in a while, but we really kind of did it just to kind of get away from all of the crap that's been going on. In fact, we have sort of an unwritten rule that we don't talk about why we're live streaming all the time and just kind of talk about good things. But everybody's it's really kind of neat. I would say that your colleagues, all those people, how great they've been to kind of keep the community together. And I want to say thank you for that, because I think that's big. And just hearing about having the local businesses on there, that's great. I mean, you've got a platform that means a lot to a lot of different people, and we need that right now, right? So it's awesome. Yeah, and
it's great.
Yeah,
it's great, Dusty, to hear you kind of like, I live in Grand Prairie now, but I can get your show kind of sometimes in the morning by fluke on AM radio still, but you can get it on your phone and just 8:30. I'm always there to listen to the Quacky Rashog report, and kind of his music always makes my morning. And it's amazing how much that little sense of normalcy of you kind of keeping everything the way you normally do, and you and Eric just feeding off each other. And then, I got to confess, I don't listen to Low Tide every day, but just the whole, like, all you guys doing what you normally do, even though there isn't really much sports news or anything to talk about, how you guys keep it going. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. And you know what? It's kind of like, I need to go in there to keep my life going normal. You know what I mean? And then that provides other people who listen every day with some sort of sense of normality too, which is really cool. And we have a lot of people text in and say, "Hey, thanks a lot for being here. That's really cool. Conch me and stuff like that." And that's awesome. But at the same time, like for me, for me, that's awesome. Right. Cause I get to keep going. And also I have to point out, you wearing a Bulls hat and a Jordan hoodie with me coming on this thing is just the ultimate troll job. I mean, and I know something about trolling, so I like it. That's good. I saw that hoodie right when I had just noticed the Bulls hat. I was like, oh, that's a clever play. That's good. I like it, buddy. Well done.
Awesome. He did mention
Mike
that
was
earlier.
Mike was asking me a couple weeks ago about what's 6 o'clocker and conch me, because I was trying to explain it to him, but sometimes it's kind of hard to explain.
You got to know. If you know, you know. Like,
exactly.
That's just how it works. It's funny. It's like, because I've been on the air, we're doing our show for 10 years, man, and like, so probably like 6 months ago, got a text message. One dude texted in. He's like, hey, yeah, I'm listening to the 6 o'clock hour. And I was just like, oh, cool, 6 o'clocker. And then like the texts just start flying in. They're like, I'm a 6 o'clocker too. I'm a 6 o'clocker too. And then like 2 weeks later, we some reason added a conch, which is supposed to be said.
That's from Anchorman. Assemble.
Yeah, that's right. So we started playing the conch, and now it's like we go on the air at about 6:06. By the time we get in, there's 20 people texting in who are like, all right, I'm up. I'm on the way to work. Conch me, heading to the hospital. Conch me. So I'm just sitting here for like an hour in the morning, just hitting this conch. I've got one guy who keeps tweeting me. He's actually designing a conch for me, which is going to be amazing. So, but it's like this sort of little, and I kind of get where they're coming from. Like if you're listening to AM radio, sports AM radio in a time where there's no sports. From 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., you deserve to be in some sort of cult. So that's kind of what it is. And it's taken like the 6 o'clock hours like a life of its own now. It's almost like its own sort of little weird show, which Eric and I absolutely love. And it's funny that it took like 10 years to get something like that in place with like just 1 hour of the show. But we love it, man. That's my favorite hour. It's not even close.
So, Mike, are you going to wake up at 6 then tomorrow?
Don't do it, man.
There's no way. Dusty, I'm glad you're doing the play-by-play because I'll just listen to that in the evening. So I'm not getting up at 6.
You know what's cool, Dusty, is the goal songs leading into like other songs, like the Eakin song in one of the goal songs. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Those are fun.
Those are hilarious.
Those are pretty fun, man. Like when I got access to the company that produces them, I've always kind of been like I was a huge Weird Al fan growing up as a kid. And so I've just always loved parody songs. Like I love them more than real songs. So when my boss was like, hey, we've got this company. If you want to start writing songs and sending it to them, I was like, yes, I do. So we got access to them like probably about 7 years ago, started banging out a few of the older ones. And then like our contract with them sort of wrapped up. And for like 10 months, I kept going to my boss. I was like, I want access to these guys again. And finally he's like, okay. So once we got that again, we kind of banged out a bunch more. I've got probably a playlist of like 25 to 30 like Neilson Show originals that we hit on a rather regular basis. And then if we don't get them produced, Eric just does something silly over top of them, and they seem to be just as popular. So it's
some of those
fun,
Blue
man.
Jays ones.
Yeah, it's good. You know what? We joked about it like when Rudy Gobert touched those microphones. I remember I was watching upstairs on my TV with my family, and I was just like, crap. There goes sports for the next little while. And I went in, everything gets canceled like 2 days later. And Eric and I looked at each other and we're like, man, our show's been made for this for the last 10 years. Like, we're not even going to miss sports. And so far, we're like, I don't go in the morning and go, oh, there's nothing to talk about. Like, we got enough crazy stuff happening that we just keep her going and get like hundreds and hundreds of texts. And that just sort of drives the show.
It's awesome. And it's great to hear. I've never been up at 6. I'll never listen to you at 6. But I hear people talk about it, and of course Brett's been talking about it on here, and being a 6 o'clocker. I think he's nuts, but whatever. I would have thought he was nuts anyway.
Especially reffing beer league and then being a 6 o'clock.
Oh, buddy, that's committed. That's committed. Like the 6 o'clock hour, basically. Well, I was traveling in the fall a lot with CFL, so that's what killed my rec league season this year. But the energy level that I usually have at 6 o'clock would not be the same if the puck's dropping at 10:45. We're not done until midnight. I'm in the dressing room till 1:30. I get home at about 2, fall asleep around 3, and get up at 4:30. Like that energy level is not going to be the same. So good commitment from you, man.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got a family and the rest, and I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. Keep doing what you're doing, obviously, with the United Cycle there, the games. That was purely enjoyable and something actually I needed. We've had, since we've been out of hockey, we've had Robert Clark on and sing the anthem for us. We had Jack Michaels on, and he told me, he said, well, I can do 15 minutes, and he did about 45. And he said, he said to me, he says, I tell everybody 15 minutes because he says, I know I'll talk for 45, right? And so
that's the best way to lay it out.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know what? It's been great. And, hopefully we get you back, and you know what? Hopefully we get hockey back sooner than later. I was saying earlier, I think they're going to be playing in Georgia. They're opening up Georgia here at the end of the month.
I saw they're opening up Georgia, like the United States, man. I don't even want to. I can't even go there. It's just gonna.
The Thrashers
I'm
are
gonna
coming
skip
back.
out on that part tonight.
The Thrashers are coming back, so we're going to be playing in Atlanta. Hockey lives on in Atlanta. They're going to be playing to full crowds for all of a couple of days before they realize their mistake. All right. Well, you're welcome to stay on.
I'll stick around for a little bit more. The only thing I have to do still tonight is watch episode 2 of the Jordan documentary for work, because I got to talk about it tomorrow. This is like the biggest torture ever. My dad calls me tonight. He's like, "Hey, great game. I can't believe Ennis scored." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's crazy." And then he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm the only person in the world that doesn't want to watch this stupid documentary, but I am right now anyway. So I got, I'm almost done episode 1, and I got to crush episode 2 tonight. But I usually stay up relatively late anyway. My wife allows me to nap for usually an hour or 2 in the afternoon, so it keeps my life going late into the evenings.
And still a 6 o'clocker. I'm even more impressed.
The second one, Dusty, gets a little bit more interesting because it talks about things that I didn't even know. Like it talks about Scottie Pippen's family.
Nice.
And it's kind of a look at his upbringing and that kind of. So it's not all MJ. I hope that they really delve into like Dennis Rodman, because I want to know more about him. I knew tons about MJ because I studied him since I was 10, but I really hope they go into Dennis, because there was a side of Dennis that I'd like to see.
Episode 3 is supposedly Rodman.
Yeah.
So that'll be good too. What I've seen so far with the first episode, it's pretty well done. Like I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah.
Well, that's recorded, by the way. That's recorded. All of this is, I know all too well, is recorded and in perpetuity, and anything you say could be used against you, as they say. I once said that I'd never be mean to another ref, and Jansky keeps throwing it in my face and playing the recording over and over.
I got that cut, clipped, and saved forever.
Yeah.
I have never made such confessions yet.
Yeah, you gotta watch. I'm gonna start splicing audio and just putting it all together.
You're gonna have to.
I should have immunity from the refs. I might, there should be something in there, right? Like, can you not get me in good with all the stripes there, Luchansky, and maybe get away with a few? Does he? I mean, I should get some favoritism for giving you a platform to speak this.
He already gave me a tip on how to get away with a check.
Yeah, I've been giving you hot tips on how to not pick up majors and cross-checking guys, and
so
don't have your feet moving when you cross-check guys in front of the net. It'll be fine.
We talked a little bit about. We were getting down this path. Now, do you recall any games where you had Dusty on the ice? What kind of a player is he? I mean, is he the kind of player that you gotta? I mean, this is the Dusty expose of beer league hockey.
Well,
careful.
I remember that one game from Glengarry, but the more games I've actually reffed Dusty in have been charity games.
Oh yeah.
So it's probably a different Dusty than rec league
sometimes.
Dusty. Sometimes not. Sometimes yes. I helped or did some world longest game. Did about 4 or 5 shifts out there. Only 2-hour shifts, not whatever you were doing, Dustin.
Yeah, it was still good.
And then we did the one in Sherwood Park for your...
Yeah, for Branko and the Dirty Birds. Yeah.
So that one
I got pretty fired up at that one. Were you there at that one?
Game-winning goal? There for the morning.
Oh, you missed that one. Yeah, I told... So that was, you've been to that tournament. It's only a 14 tournament. It's a one-day event. We raised money for the Neurosurgery Kids Fund. And our team was playing in the final that year. And it was a 1-goal game. It was super late. And I was kind of standing just to the left of the goal, up top of the crease. And one of our guys took it in behind the net, and their goalie went over to the post, and it got wrapped around, and it came right to me, and I put it home to tie it with 5 seconds left. So I'm losing my mind, and the referee,
volunteer referee,
but as I told him, that doesn't matter. He waves it off. He waves off the goal. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I guess the goaltender, when he came across, pushed his net off, and I know he did it on purpose. I was like, "You greasy bugger!" So the ref goes, "Calm down. It's a charity game." So I tell him, I said, even though it's charity, that doesn't mean you have to be, the
worst referee ever in the history of refs.
It was not good. It was not good. So I calmed down. We ended up losing 5-4, whatever it was. Got in the dressing room, apologized to Branko, who runs a tournament. I said, hey, I shouldn't have told the ref that he was garbage. And so, yeah, I mean, here's the one thing that has changed is like since I had kids like 5 years ago, I've totally calmed down. Like I used to be a real train wreck in rec league. And I don't know why. I think like once I realized that once I had like little humans to raise, I realized that rec league isn't the end all and be all of my life anymore. So I totally calmed down. My suspensions have dropped significantly. And I don't know. I just kind of lost a crazy edge that I had there in like my early 30s, which I'm totally okay with. But it definitely changed.
I love how you say suspensions. I mean, I'm like
Dropped.
I'm not known for being the cleanest player out there, but I don't talk in suspensions. I talk in penalties.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But I'd say Dusty, he's a big guy. He's got some skates on him. Back checking, not so much. But he's got some pretty good hands for a big man in front of the net. Maybe
That's
like
pretty
a
much
Patrick
what I got going.
Maroon-esque, maybe.
Oh, Maroon.
Somebody once, Ian Herbers, the Golden Bears head coach, in a very lovable fashion, described me as Mario Lemieux on his worst back day ever, which would make sense for a guy who had a horrible back. And I sit next to Herbie, and he meant it as like a really bad chirp. And I looked at him and I was just like, thanks, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take it. Mario Lemieux, who can't skate at all whatsoever. Thank you. That's great.
That's awesome. So
That's funny.
We were talking,
I remember at World's Longest Game there, that Dusty, it wasn't you, it was somebody else. They were hooking a guy all the way up the ice, and like you don't know what to do there because there's like 4 guys out there reffing that none of them have reffed ever once.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, I'm not going to call a penalty, and the guy's like, give me a penalty, I need to get off. So I think there was an Oiler in the dressing room or something that he wanted to go see because they were visiting. So he gave him a penalty so he could leave the ice for 2 minutes or whatever.
That makes sense. Last game, Nurse and McDavid came out for a visit. That was cool. And Todd McClellan came out
I think
as well.
Nuge was there too.
Yeah, Nuge might have popped by one of the days too. Sometimes you miss them when you're sleeping for like the 4 or 5 hours that you go and crash. You miss some of the guys. But no, it's pretty cool. That was actually one of those Kevin Carius from Global. And we get along great. But when you play each other for 11 straight days, guys will get on your nerves. And it was about like 3 a.m. one night. And I was trying to work. And Carius is a good hockey player. He played like SJHL and stuff. He's a good player. And I was trying to work around him. And he like can opened me, like put his stick right between my legs and took me down. And I've got 2 banged up knees anyway. You're playing for 11 days. You're already pissed off. And I got up and I went at Carius, and Carius and I said, Kevin's like, what? And I lost it. I was like, come on, let's just go right now. Like, let's just get it done. I'm sick and tired of you. And Yanni Nienema, who was on my line in that World's Longest Game, came over. He grabs me, he goes, Dusty, you cannot do this. It's not worth it. You can't do this. It's for charity. I was just like, I know. He goes, he's driving me crazy too, but we can't do this. So it's just like, all right, fine. So,
save your strength.
So Yanni Nienema saved myself from probably getting pummeled by Kevin Carius.
That's just good leadership right there.
Exactly. He was great.
So you guys have a media game you play every year, do you not?
We have
Well, I saw you in the Hockey Helps the Homeless last year.
Yeah. There's Hockey Helps the Homeless. There's a bunch. We had like a Bell Media team in the Hockey Helps the Homeless event. Every year at the beginning of Minor Hockey Week, there's like a Edmonton media game where Edmonton media will take on like Edmonton minor hockey alum that have gone on to like play in other places and stuff. And they usually smoke us unless we are allowed to take Rob Brown from their team and put him on our team. And then Rob Brown basically, and Struddy now. So Brown and Struddy, if we can get those 2 guys on our team, we can usually get the job done. Or if Louis DeBrusque shows up, that obviously helps. But outside of that, it's just a bunch of us plugs out there trying to keep up with these guys. But it's we didn't do it at the beginning of Minor Hockey Week this year. That's a Carius thing. He usually organizes it, but he usually leaves it to like the last minute. You'll get a text like at noon, day of. He's like, hey, can you be at the downtown arena 6 o'clock tonight? But we all usually try to make it work. It's a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's I was thinking more. I thought that you guys did one where you had maybe Bell against like chorus or something like that. That could probably get pretty heated if something like that were to go.
The last thing I want is Stauffer breathing down my neck, telling me he's going to beat me up. So I think we'll probably pass on that game.
You need a 4 official crew for that one, Dusty. 4.
We would need a 4 official crew. You're right.
Yeah. And probably some people upstairs just taking video to send back to the league office, right?
Is there a little rivalry there, Dusty? Because you bring up who is it for Derek Ryan for the Flames being Stoff's guy all the time?
Oh no, you know what? Stoff and I like chirping Stoff, but it's to me. I mean, sometimes Stoff will text me and be like, "I heard you were talking about me again," and I text him and I'm like, "Stoff, it's what buddies do." Like, because I like Bob a lot. So that's why on the show, sometimes on my show, I'll be like, oh, thanks for the text, Stoff. Or like Derek Ryan, because Stoff loves I've been doing University of Alberta games for 10 years. Stoff absolutely loves the University of Alberta Golden Bears. Like, I love the Bears too, but Stoff has like this next level of passion. He knows
everything that's ever happened.
Oh, it's crazy. He'll be
every sport.
I'm not even kidding. He'll be calling an Oilers game, riding shotgun with Jack, and he'll be streaming the Golden Bears game and texting me about it while I'm calling the Golden Bears game. And I'm like, aren't you doing an NHL game right now? He goes, yeah, but I can't believe the way these guys are playing. I'm like, this is crazy. So no, Stoff and I get along really well. So I've always told him that they're just friendly jabs. Like, I like, you know, I would hope that he sometimes would take a shot at me on his show too. And if we had back in the day when we used to do like that Oilers lunch or whatever it was called on our station before they took Oilers Now to Ched, we used to have Stoff on every day in that 8:30 spot that Rashog now has. So we had him on the show all the time. And Stoff and I, Stoff's funny because he'll call and he'll talk to you for an hour and you only say like 9 words. Like, he just goes and I just sit back and I enjoy it. I like it. So there's no rivalry from, I mean, he might be jealous that I'm the voice of the Bears, which like is a real thing because that's how much he loves the Bears. Like, I swear to God, if he could do Oilers and still somehow call the Bears, he would, because that's how much he loves them. But no, we get along really well. So anytime you hear me reference Stoff or on the Derek Ryan calls on the simulation, it's just a shout out. Basically.
Was that Jim Nantz that was doing like 2 NFL games at a time?
Oh, who? What? No, was that Kevin Harlan?
Yeah. He was calling he was calling a TV game and a radio game at the same time.
Something like that. Something was going on. Yeah. That was recent, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. I think it was Kevin Harlan for some reason.
Yeah.
Who's awesome, by the way. Right. Kevin Harlan's a great play-by-play guy.
So we were talking
good sound bites from that guy.
We were talking about play-by-play earlier. We were talking about play-by-play earlier, and pretty much all of us have turned the game on mute and tried to do play-by-play. Some of us more successful than others. It's clearly not something I'm cut out for. How are you finding doing play-by-play of a video game? I mean, Dursa was saying, like, it's hard enough to see the players' numbers when you're there at the game, but video game's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Like, I know we're doing these for fun, and I'm mixing in and having some fun with it, but to be honest with you, I'm doing it for reps, man. Like, it's just, I mean, I would probably have been getting ready to call, CFL preseason games next month. And now I don't get to do that. There's no CFL video game that I can do play-by-play over. So this is great for me. I'm kind of doing it just to get more practice. And it's interesting because with no color guy and with the pace that the video game moves at, let's not even get started on Rick Ferraro, that jerk. But with the pace that the video game goes at, I mean, you're doing like a whole period in like 15 minutes. So there's really not even any time to have a conversation anyway. I like to blab on anyway, so it kind of flies by. My background in hosting a morning show where you'd have to do like 15-minute segments, I can do 15 minutes, no problem. But the pace is pretty quick. I rate when a player gets the puck, their name will pop up very briefly and then it fades away. So that kind of helps a little bit. Like, I'll quickly see, but now it's so sad. This is so sad that I can tell who these players are by just the way they skate on the video game, which is so embarrassing. Like, but that's just how it is. And I did 2 years in Fort Mac with the Oil Barons. And whenever we would go on the road, I didn't have a color guy. So I would do the radio games by myself. I've done some Golden Bears games by myself. So I've worked without color guys in the past, and video game play-by-play is actually, it's fun. It's so fast paced that, you just kind of get rolling. So the worst part of doing play-by-play would be when there's like a dud of a game or where things have really kind of slowed down. Like going to the Spengler this year, Team Canada outscored the opposition 19-2. So they won the entire tournament. They basically were never in a tough spot the entire way. So as cool as it was to go over and call that event, it was kind of a dud from a play-by-play perspective. So I really enjoy doing these silly video games.
Yeah. No, well, you know, I mean, you did a good job. I mean, it is fast. Like it's, you know, it's end to end. It's like it goes on. Were you at all scared today that the Flames might score?
Sorry, I froze.
I think
back.
I said, were you scared at all today that the Flames might score in OT?
Oh, buddy. Like my kid, I don't know, like there's a lot of other kids who'd be watching this all day. My kid was like, Daddy, I hope the Oilers win. I hope the Oilers win tonight. So he's going to be absolutely pumped. But yeah, I mean, I think what we're going to do is keep her going. Like just no matter what happens, we'll call probably a series every round and do the Cup final. I don't care if it's St. Louis and, you know, Tampa Bay or whatever, just because, I mean, people understand it's, you know, an entertainment perspective. If the Oilers can make a run, that'd be sweet. But if like Lucic had a chance to score tonight with about 3 minutes left, and if Lucic scores the winning goal with 3 minutes left in the simulation, I tell you, people would have hated me for a couple of months. Like I almost guarantee it. So thankfully Smith stopped him. And now Canucks Oilers, that'll be actually like hopefully a fun series too. And we'll get some Canucks fans involved. And I think the other series, St. Louis beat Winnipeg tonight in overtime. And then Dallas and Colorado are going game 7. So that's what's happening in our Western Conference simulation.
Hopefully they have a nicer press area in Vancouver than they did in the dumping.
Yeah, in Calgary, you're right. That's true.
Do you think you could call an overtime game on a video game as Dick Veneret the entire time?
Who I could, but I mean, if somebody told me that only people 18 years or older were listening, I would put together probably the most legendary overtime of all time. But with kids listening, I can't do it. And I get so excited for overtime. I don't care what it is, like what sport, whatever. I get so nervous and excited calling overtime that like we had overtime in game 2, Reader scored, and then overtime tonight. And I wanted to do like a quick Dick Veneret reference and just like maybe a quick sort of tease of it. But I've been so excited that I completely forgot. I just get too into it, which is like my wife, she'll be listening and she's just shaking her head. She's like, "You are so loud. We can hear you through the entire house." And it's just like, it's to be honest with you boys, it's so sad, but I'm having so much fun with it that I don't even care. Like, I love it.
You see all the people sending you pictures on Twitter?
Yeah, which is awesome.
Everybody, like everybody's pumped to watch. Everyone understands that it's just for fun, but it is appreciated. I think that you're going to such lengths to make it as good as it is. Instead of just running a simulation. Like,
so we did it and it was good. The first game, whatever. I can't remember how many we topped out at, like 300 and then we got up to 500. It kind of just kept going and going. And then the first time somebody tweeted me a picture, they're like, "Hey, I got the game set up." And I'm like, holy smokes, like somebody's watching the game on their TV. And then that's on the broadcast. I started saying like, "Hey, if you're watching this, tweet me a picture." And now people are just firing.
I know.
Well, you guys have, like, it's awesome. It's like when you can if you think about it, like when we maxed out at just over 1,400 viewers at the same time tonight, that's a good chunk of people who are watching this simulation game. Like it's awesome, man. I'm really happy United, like I told you guys, like when United reached out and at first I was like, we'll see about this. And then luckily I had nothing better to do. And I was like, okay, let's go. And the moment I did it, I bought it.
United's going to need a supercomputer to keep up with the people.
I was going to say they are going to have to somehow go curbside and pick up a new computer and get it set up to continue to deal with the numbers that we're getting. It's funny.
Have you ever played the game yourself? Are you an NHL 20 fan?
I haven't played NHL. I think the last one, I deleted it off my Xbox when I was downloading some new games a couple nights ago. NHL 18 was the last one I had. I don't have a lot of video game time anymore with a lot of work and the 2 kids and stuff. So what I do have for video game time, I basically dedicate to FIFA and NBA 2K. I like that game. So NHL kind of just is the odd man out. I still buy Madden, but every time I buy Madden, I go to play it. I play it for like 20 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, I still don't really like this game. So I stick with FIFA and NBA 2K. I used to play. I mean, I grew up like everybody on NHL 94, NHL 95, NHL 96. Like, so yeah, I probably played them pretty heavily up until my boy was born about 5 years ago, and then it just the NHL and Madden have just been casualties of life, I guess.
And who knew you could make a career out of it right now?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of like, part of me is like, man, if people need play-by-play guys for simulations moving forward, I'll do it. Like, why not? I'm not making any money right now. I just told United, I was like, yeah, let's just go. Let's just do this. Like, let's just make this happen. But if like when sports comes back and like if an actual like legitimate streaming company came to me and was like, hey, do you want to call like 1 or 2 games a week from your basement? I'd be like, yes. Yes, sign me up right now. I'm already hoping the NFL season gets canceled so we can do Monday Night Football. I've always wanted to call Monday Night Football. That'll be amazing. So, yeah, I'm not in a hurry here. Although, I mean, I would take summer hockey in July and August if we can make that happen.
So you're going to be in the esports broadcasting Hall of Fame then?
I'm out. Yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm done AM radio. I'm skipping straight from AM radio to EA Sports Hall of Fame. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's where it's at. Well, guys, we're counting down the minutes here. A couple minutes left before we call it a night. This has been great, enjoyable. Usually, I'm stuck here listening to Stripes make bad calls or tell me why his bad calls are in the rule book or whatever. But I'm still not sure he's not making this shit up, right? Like, it's,
hey, that's why I give you the numbers, and you can go look for yourself if you really need.
We really need to see your work next time, Brett, because I think it's just you write stuff down for pretend there and look down like you have something.
That's right.
I agree. Like a couple of those rules, like this was my first time doing the rip the ref. Was that what we call it? Rip the ref?
Yeah, the ref. Yeah.
Okay. To me, you were ripping refs more than any of us because you were like, this rule doesn't make any sense. Like, what's going on here? So it totally made sense. It all made sense to me.
For the record, that one in the simulation check, that was simulation 5 or match for sure.
It should have been, right?
That's a match in Hockey Canada. Like,
yeah,
if you smash someone into the boards, you think charged him too. If the guy can't protect himself, it's a match.
There is no protecting himself.
Did you see the other night? The other night, I think it was Saturday. They were showing LA Kings and New Jersey Devils Stanley Cup, and Rob Scuderi got ran from right behind the net, and it was just actually they did give the guy 5 in a game, but earlier in the shift, Jarrett Stoll ran a guy on the sideboards, and he didn't even get a penalty.
Yeah, well, like NHL, like
same shift.
NHL doesn't like even have checking from behind, man. Like,
no, man.
It's either boarding.
Yeah, they call it boarding.
Or like, I don't know. Very rarely do they ever call a major for some of the very dangerous hits that people lay push guys right from behind.
Well,
like they don't seem to like they're all
right?
going
like,
serious on checking to the head, which they should be, but they kind of don't go for CFB, like checking from behind in the NHL for sure.
Yeah, it seems like you're better off to hit somebody from behind against the boards than you are to stalk somebody and hit him in open ice.
Yeah,
in the NHL.
It's true.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, they all move to make the call anyway, right? Like as soon as they see a guy coming, they'll turn their back to him in hopes they'll get a call, right? They're smart. They're veterans. They're good. They're good that way. Hey, we're at the end of we're at about 10:30, 10:31. This is where my contract ends at 10:30, and it's in Brett's contract that he's got to get to bed so he can be up by 6 a.m.
To listen to Dusty.
Yeah. Thank you again, Dusty. Real pleasure having you on. Really enjoyable. Thanks, Brett, as always, Monday. And Mike, thank you for joining. This has been another Oilers live stream. We've had a great night and a lot of fun. Make sure you guys tune in to the next play-by-play. When are you doing the next one? It's Thursday.
I think we're gonna kick off round 2 Wednesday night against the Canucks.
Wednesday night against the Canucks.
Yeah, we were originally gonna go Thursday night, but NFL draft is Thursday night, and I was like, the last thing we want to do is go head to head with the NFL draft, and also I want to watch the NFL draft. So let's do this thing Wednesday.
So what are they doing the NFL draft by like Zoom call or what?
It's like this.
Yeah.
This is how NFL draft's going to be. It's like all of us right here doing the National Football League draft, which is going to be insane. They tested it today, and like the Bengals had a 2-minute and 30-second delay on the first pick due to technology. So it's going to be worth the ride on Thursday night, boys.
So the draft is going to take 7 months.
Yeah,
pretty much like baseball.
Yeah. They should go to Atlanta. Do it in Atlanta. All right. Everybody have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay. See you, boys.